Hello everyone, welcome to my lecture on topic 3, different types of cost and their behavior. Cost is a monetary value of the goods and services that are produced by the producers, or it can also be referred as an expenditure incurred to produce a particular product or a service. And one of the important functions of a business economist or a producer or a business person is making decisions pertaining to cost or related to cost, and they also has to examine, understand and analyze the same since different business proposals are evaluated in terms of their cost and revenues. While doing so, there would be a possible variations in the concept of cost and its relationship with output, both in the short run as well as a long run. Right? So every producer tries to minimize the cost so as to increase his profit margins. So it is important to understand the various types of cost, their behavior, and to control them. In order to control them effectively is the main purpose of understanding the concepts of cost and as well as the behavior of the cost in both short run as well as a long run period. So here are the listed out few different types of costs that goes into the process of production directly as well as indirectly. To begin with, the first one is long run versus short run cost. Long run is a period which is sufficient to change all factors of production, whereas in a short run period there is only possibility of changing any one of the input factors or a maximum two of the input factors, which we have already seen when we have learned theory of production, right? So the long run period is a period which is sufficient to change all factors of production, and they are planning curves. They are termed as the planning curves because management can plan its capacity of production using this particular long run planning curves. So the short run is a time period during which only a variable factors can be altered, and short run curves are called as operating curves. Right? Next, coming to the next type of a cost, that is fixed versus variable cost. Fixed costs are those costs which are fixed irrespective of this production. That is, before productional activities are started, even though the productional activities are started, there are certain types of costs that are to be invested in the initial stages of setting up the business, like land, machinery, buildings, motor vehicles, etc., for furnitures and fixtures, etc. Such kind of a cost are known as a fixed cost, which are incurred, and the benefits of this particular cost can be reaped out by the firm for a longer period of time, whereas variable costs vary with the volume of production. A simple example for a variable cost is your material cost or labor cost. That entirely depends upon the total output what you are planning in proportionate to that, right? So opportunity cost versus actual cost. Opportunity cost is nothing but earnings that are foregone for losing an opportunity. Example, using own house for business and losing the rent, that is foregoing the rent on it, whereas the actual cost is one which is spent on the product. If the same building, if otherwise let out on rent, it would have generated certain income for the person. Rather, he is foregoing that benefit and using that particular premises or the building for his own business purposes. So that way we called it as that instance of foregoing a best alternative for your value for your asset is opportunity cost, as well as the actual cost is actual amount invested in procuring that. Incremental versus sunk cost. Incremental cost are the added cost due to increase in the level of production. That is, as you keep on increasing the production, the certain amount of cost also tends to increase. So that cost are called as an incremental cost. In incremental cost. Sunk costs are those which are already incurred and do not have any change with the level of production. They do not have any change in the level of production, where on this type of cost, that is sunk cost, you cannot exercise any control over it because they have already incurred. Right? Next one is explicit cost versus implicit cost. Explicit cost involves payment of cash such as rents, whereas implicit costs do not involve in payment of cash as they are not actually incurred. Example, saving in salary due to own supervision. This is an example for implicit cost, that is, it is an implied ones that but not actually incurred. So these kind of considerations will be taken into account while preparing the profit and loss account, so that it is going to have an impact on the overall profit earned by the companies or the firm. So explicitors are those which involve the direct cash payment, that is, the direct expenditures or direct costs are incurred in the way of paying rents or electricity expenses or wages or whatever it is. Next one is out of pocket cost versus book cost. Out of pocket cost are immediate cash flow in day-to-day business which cannot be avoided, which are to be incurred at any cost in order to continue the flow of the business activities or the productional activities, whereas book costs are shown in the books and not required for current cash expenditure. So book costs are those costs which are only reflected in the books of accounts rather than being incurred in real. That is, for example, example has been cited here, provision for depreciation and bad debts. Depreciation is nothing but a reduction in the value of an asset. If suppose a land is owned by or a building is owned by or let us take an example of a machinery. If it is costing 4 lakh rupees, right? The cost of a machinery is 4 lakh rupees. Now every year, due to wear and tear or due to usage of that particular material asset, it will be subjected to certain wear and tear. That is, the value of the asset tends to reduce by certain value. So every year, while valuing or preparing the balance sheet, it is an obligation on part of the business firms to create certain depreciation. That is, create certain depreciation on this particular type of assets. Let us assume it is creating 5% of depreciation on the machinery. So 5% on this 40,000, 4 lakhs will be the total depreciated amount. So the amount that is, it will be coming to 5% will be, right? So that 5% depreciation has to be calculated on the actual value of the asset, and that has to be reduced from this one. So the residual value will be nothing but the actual value of the asset. So that is how, even though it is not incurred, but it will be considered or it will be shown in the books of accounts. Similarly, bad debts. Next one is past costs versus future costs. The costs which are already incurred are called past costs. They cannot be controlled, whereas cost which will be incurred in future are called future cost, and they can be controlled. Urgent cost versus postponable cost. Cost which affect the operational efficiency of the business and which must be met immediately are called as urgent cost. There is no possibility of postponing them. Costs which are not urgent for continuation of the business are called postponable cost. Short-term cost curves. Short-term cost curves Short-term is a time period during which time is not sufficient to change fixed costs like land, building, machinery, etc. So cost can be divided into fixed and variable cost, but in the long run there will not be any variable cost in the long run. So that is, there will not be any distinction between fixed as well as the variable cost in a long run period. So this is the diagram represented here, right, which helps us to understand the cost of this particular cost of production or the behavior of the cost. In this diagram, average variable cost is a U-shaped curve. This is the average variable cost. This is average total cost, and this is marginal cost. It tends to fall in the beginning when output is increasing, but after a particular level it will start increasing. That is, average cost curve will be, let us assume it is beginning here, slowly it is slowing down, and again at a certain point they are increased. So average total cost is equal to total cost, total variable cost divided by quantity. Similarly, average total cost. Average total cost is also a U-shaped curve. This one is also a U-shaped curve, just similar to average variable cost curve. It also will be gradually slowing down. The cost will be reduced, and gradually again after a certain point the cost starts increasing, raising after a certain period of time. That is, average total cost is equal to fixed cost plus variable cost, because in a short period we always consider fixed cost as well as the variable cost. So fixed cost plus variable cost divided by the cost, or total cost is divided by quantity. This one is quantity. Marginal cost. Marginal cost is the additional cost incurred for producing one extra unit. It falls down fast and rises very fast. This is about your marginal cost. It reduces, very steep reduction in it, and a quick raise in the marginal cost is also observed. Marginal cost is equal to change in the total cost divided by change in change in the quantity. Now this long run average cost curves and its behavior will be regarding. This takes into consideration all the short run averages cost curves for a certain period of time. So average long run refers to the time period during which the firms can make changes in production technology and can enter into new markets. That is, there will not be any difference between the fixed costs as well as variables. All the costs will tend to be variable. All costs are variable. A long run is also expressed as a series of short run curves. As I just told you, it will take into consideration the study of all the short run cost curves for a certain particular period of time. In this diagram, long run average cost curve, that is LRAC, is a flat U-shaped curve. It is a flat U-shaped curve which envelopes a series of short run curves, that is SRCA1, SRCA2, SRCA3, 4 and 5. A flat U-shaped curve represents that the cost of the production continues to low till the output reaches Q1. At this instance, for this particular SRCA1, this is the cost point quantity that is produced. For the next one, Q2 is the quantity produced. For the next curve, this is a marked Q3 point which falls both lowest for both the short run curve as well as the outer long run curve. Right, it is optimum level because SRCA3 is tangential at this point, tangential to LRAC, where the short run average cost is equal to long run average cost. After this period, if the firm produces more, cost of production starts rising. If you can observe from this point of tangency, any increase in the production will, any increase in the firm's production results in increase in the cost also. So the firm produces more, cost of production starts rising, indicated by OQ4, this one. Increased cost is this one, OQ4 and OQ5 cost. So this is the point that is the intersection point of SRAC3 as well as the outer LRAC. LRAC is the ideal level of output a firm can bring out with a minimum cost. With this, I'll end up the session here. Thank you.